This is Justin Case of American Newscape, joining our friend and lifestyle luminary Joyce Rockwood for some insight on how she teaches healing from the inside out. Joyce joins us to share an obtainable natural health solution, answering the question, raw food versus cooked food, which is healthier? Hello, greetings, Joyce.
Hello, it's good to be back. I'm really excited about supporting people with this important topic. This comes up a lot.
I think it'll be enlightening to a lot of us. Okay, when it comes to raw food versus cooked food, there are many health and fitness professionals who claim that a raw food diet is the best choice for achieving optimum health and fitness. Can we weigh in with your thoughts, which is healthier, raw food or cooked food?
Absolutely. I think this is important because, a lot of times the education behind why we're doing something is going to inspire people and help them to understand why they're doing it. And so the answer to this question is actually much like, but not exactly the same as the question that I get a lot, which is, hey, Joyce, which is healthier? Which is better, smoothies or juices? Now, when I say much the same, but not exactly the same, it's because, there are intricacies around the process. Now, with juices and smoothies, they both have different benefits, right? And depending on the result or the outcome that you're trying to achieve, then you'd make the ideal choice. But if we're focusing today on raw food versus cooked food, which is better, I can even liken that to, it'd be like, oh, which is better, shampoo or conditioner when you're washing your hair? Well, shampoo is ideal for washing your hair and getting out the oil, right? But conditioner is really much better and ideal and optimal for getting out the tangles and keeping your hair shiny and tame. So raw food has um, a certain result and impact on your body, and it also clearly will create a certain result in terms of your health and vitality. And cooked food can offer similar benefits. So let's break it down. Let's unpack it for everyone. All
Okay.
right. And it also depends on who is asking. Right. So sometimes I have people coming to me, like yesterday, I met someone who 7 years ago had a very serious intestinal backup issue, and she could barely eat. Everything she ate kind of popped up back, right? It kind of like she was throwing everything up. And then I'll meet people who have been vegetarian for a number of years and maybe have even been vegan for several months and are really dabbling in bringing in a larger percentage of their consumption as raw food. So those are two very different individuals with two very different histories. So the answer to the question and the way in which the way in which I would coach those people is going to look very different. All right. So let's talk about raw foods versus cooked foods, and let's just break down the two groups first. All right. So raw foods in this case, for the work that I do, would be your fruits, your vegetables. I'm not talking about eating raw meats here. Okay. I'm not saying you can't if you want to do that, but that's not something that I'm talking about here. We're talking about raw plant-based diet versus a cooked food diet. Okay. Cooked plant-based diet. Now, while there are a lot of foods that can be eaten, raw, like meat. We're certainly not going to be doing that today, but we're also not talking about like eating raw pasta, which would be ridiculous. Okay, so let's just make sure we're clear on what we're talking about. The cooked foods would be your vegetables and your starchy carbohydrates and your meats. All right. So those are the two separations of the two groups. Now, the reason I say that the answer is dependent on who's asking is, like I say, sometimes I'm working with people who have very inflamed systems. Maybe their digestive system has never really been right. Maybe their microbiome needs to be reset. Maybe they don't have regular and frequent, normal bowel movements. Maybe their colon is really backed up. They might not be able to tolerate the cleansing responses that the raw foods tend to create, right? So a lot of times people will come to me and they'll be like, oh my God, don't make me eat salad. It runs right through me. Well, it's not because the salad is bad. It's because what the salad is encountering is really resistant. And what happens when you eat the salad is, instead of the bowels getting activated, it's just the raw food that's rushing through. So it's not, again, sometimes it's a false association that, raw foods are creating the diarrhea. It's not the raw foods that are creating the diarrhea. It's that the body is so backed up that when the raw food goes in, it's the only thing leaving. And so there's a malabsorption issue, and then the bowels are not completely forming. There's dehydration, and then the only thing moving through is that new food. All right. So for those people who have more of an inflamed system, they might not have regular and frequent bowel activity. Of course, we're not going to force them to eat raw foods. What we would do is have them eating very small amounts of raw foods in the beginning. And then for some of those clients, I actually have them eating no raw foods at all, right? Because we need to open up those channels of elimination first, stimulate the bowels to get active and have a proper full bowel. By the way, a full bowel should be like 1 to 2 feet in length. Yeah. And so, we're reducing the inflammation, we're reducing the toxicity, and we're increasing the bowel activity by, allowing the cooked foods to be more predominant. All right. So then what would happen is once the bowels start activating and becoming more frequent, and the person is starting to feel more energy, sleep better, have better digestion, better skin, then we'd slowly start bringing in some of those raw foods, but we would not bring in the most cleansing ones first. So I wouldn't even be bringing in fruit with those clients. I would be bringing in some of the greens and some celery, maybe small amounts of grated carrots. We've talked about the power of restoring the gut and the microbiome with raw fermented veggies, a very small amount. Again, it could just be a forkful of sauerkraut before you eat the cooked food. But the important thing to notice there is that we would be doing that raw food first and then eating the entree right after. The order is crucial. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to properly combine their foods. All right. And then we're hitting the summer, so everyone's going to want to eat some fruit at some point. Then after the bowels start feeling okay and the stomach and the digestive system are not having any kind of erratic responses to eating small amounts of the vegetables that are raw, then we can slowly start bringing in some of the raw fruits. Now, the ones I would recommend would be the lower cleansing ones. So we would have the berries, grapefruit, kiwi. Even if someone wanted to do baked apples before they ate the actual raw fruit, that's another option. Because what's happening with the raw food is that all the enzymes are very intact. When we cook the food, the enzymes tend to get diminished. There are certain circumstances where that's actually ideal, but for people who want to have, more vibrancy and more energy, they of course want to be bringing in some level of raw foods at some point. So we want to make sure that we can do that successfully. All right. So that's the baseline for the raw foods. We would start slowly or not have them in at all, and then start increasing them over time. All right. So for cooked foods, like I say, they might have lower enzymes, but for a lot of people, they need to work with what's sensible given their health history and the foods that they've been eating over the course of their lifetime. If someone comes to me and they've never had a vegetable juice in their life, I'm certainly going to open the doors for them. But I want to be, mindful of the suggestions I make so it'll feel relevant for them. It'll feel somewhat stretchy, but also very doable. And then they can have some really easy, quick shifts and then be like, oh, I could do that. Then I could do whatever's next. Thanks for the tip. All right. So really being mindful of what we've eaten over the course of our life and then making these transitional steps into what might be more alkaline or cleansing. Okay. So for the cooked food, what I would do for someone is, maybe bringing in the cleaner options. If you're someone who's accustomed to going out for Chinese and having, beef with broccoli and white rice, maybe we just do like maybe chicken and broccoli and do brown rice. Those are some slow steps. And then at some point we pull out the starchy carbohydrate altogether because we're integrating better combinations of foods. But with the cooked food, again, the quality of the food you're choosing is going to still allow you to have really great responses and feel more energy. And that could be as simple as, like I say, choosing a cleaner starch, like a brown rice versus a white rice, choosing quinoa versus brown rice, choosing yams and squashes and things of that nature that are cooked. Still, like, no one's really going to eat a raw yam. I'm not. I see some of the raw foodies out there grating up yams and like eating them raw. It's not for me. I don't really recommend it. I think the starches in those foods do need to be cooked. and millet, wild rice. These are some of the cooked food options that you would want to be bringing in a higher percentage into your diet, and start moving away from the processed cooked foods. All right. So, if we're talking about which is healthier, raw food versus cooked food, the philosophical truth is that the raw foods, of course, are more vital. They have more enzymes, they have more of their minerals and their vitamins intact. But, if you're someone who has digestive issues and eating those raw foods for the sake of the philosophical truth of trying to get more vital nutrients into your body is not working because it's creating an unwanted response, then we have to be mindful of your health history, your diet history, and make those changes transitionally so that they're sensible for your system, much like taking your car out and going from first to second gear versus from first to third. We don't want to drop the transmission out of your vehicle. All right. So the true answer to this question is, yes, raw food is healthier philosophically, but depending on the individual, we might need to be mindful of how we tweak it so that we can bring the raw foods in slowly if they're creating, diarrhea and gas and bloating and unwanted intestinal responses for the person who is working with them.
It's almost, you're reminding us to be very vigilant as we shift our diets to monitor the effects, the cause and effects. And it also speaks to, you can't have enough people in your corner trying to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, it doesn't have to feel so overwhelming, and you're not in this alone. I know what that can feel like. So, just know that if you're having issues, you can post comments down below, right below this video. We want you to feel like you can engage. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. If you feel like some of the issues you're having with your health are a little bit too personal for the public arena, I get that too. You can always drop me an email at detox@joycerockwood.com. Let me know what's happening. Sometimes it's a really simple, tiny tweak. I might even just email you back and be like, try this and let me know how it goes in a few days. But if you're someone who's really ready, willing, and able, and like now is your time, and you'd really like to work on your health and just have those results come in faster, then we can have a 30-minute call. I can assess what's going on. You can tell me what your vision is, and how long you've been struggling with this, how much is this costing you to not take care of it. And I can share a step-by-step process to really help you button this up so you can get on with your life and focus on what's most important.
Joyce, you've really been prepping us for this, and and what struck me, and you can address this, fermented vegetables or fermentation. We did a whole episode on fermentation. You actually gave us a recipe on how to make our own sauerkraut. So where does that fermented cabbage sit between raw and cooked? Is it
raw? Yeah, if it's fermented, it's raw. I mean, there are companies that are making it in a cooked fashion, but the ones that I had recommended in that episode are the other ones that are typically refrigerated. They're always refrigerated, I should say. And those are going to be the raw options. There was one option years ago that I remember someone in my office called, it was Bubby's, and they had said that their sauerkraut was a cooked version. I don't know if they've changed that because sauerkraut's become so much more popular now, but definitely you want to buy, the ones that are refrigerated. Those are going to be the raw ones. So, and you can make that stuff at home, as you said.
Okay, Joyce. Hey, thank you for this. You've actually enlightened us to a lot of things that we need to be thinking about. This has been Just In Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing a few nutritious, delicious raw food strategies. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts, additional information, and links are provided in this video's read more. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel, stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn her healthy suggestions on how not to go bananas.